Great, thank you. Welcome everyone. My name is HeatherAsh Amara. It is January 18th, and this is our global webcast and live broadcast for conscious relationship and sexual integrity. And as I was saying before we started the recording, there's over 500 women that have signed up for this call tonight. So I'm always delighted to share this information. It's actually been quite a while since I've talked about conscious relationship and sexual integrity. So welcome. For those of you that have seen me before, you know that I show up with who's here, and that's what I teach. And so there's not a particular script of what will happen tonight. If you have questions or you have comments, for those of you that are global, please feel free to chat. And we have Sheila and Lizette and perhaps Amy all monitoring the chat, and Lizette is also monitoring the phone. So if you've called in on the phone and you have a question, you're welcome to press *6 to unmute yourself and ask that question. And always for the global, the local, you all are welcome to ask questions as well. We just ask that you speak up so that our global folks can hear you. So this talk tonight is usually a 4-part series or a weekend workshop, actually 2 weekend workshops. So this is the synopsis around conscious relationship and sexual integrity. It's really the taste. And I'm really passionate about teaching about these 2 subjects, especially for women, because we're really not trained how to be in a relationship with ourselves, let alone with anyone else. There's tremendous misconceptions around what it means to be in relationship for women, especially. We've been domesticated that our job is to take care of others, that our job is to figure out and create ease. And very few of us learn how to be authentic in relationship to ourselves, as well as in relationship to other humans, which brings on its own wonderful complexities. So when we're talking about conscious relationship, we're talking about not just intimate romantic partnerships. That's a piece. We're talking about all of our relationships, beginning with our relationship with ourself, which is the most important one you have. You're gonna be with yourself till the end, and you're the only one that is really, truly with yourself. And so to make that relationship the love of your life is what we're gonna talk about today. Rather than trying to figure out how do I find it outside, we're gonna look at how to anchor it inside. And not just as an intellectual concept, because that sounds good, but much more difficult to put into practice. Sexual integrity is a part of relationships. And again, we're always going to be coming back to our relationship with self. And this is the same with our sexuality. One of the things that we've been habituated with around our sexuality is thinking about it is that it's in relationship to someone else. False. So to come back to reclaiming our own sexual integrity for us and finding out what is that, what's authentic for us. So this isn't in relationship to anyone else. It's in relationship to ourselves, and that's the foundation. That's where we begin. So let's start with talking about conscious relationships, and then we'll merge into sexual integrity at the second half of our talk this evening. How we come into relationship consciously is first being clear about what our intent is for our relationship with self and our relationship with others. And it's easy for us to fall into relationships without having a clear idea of what we're looking for, what particular piece is of interest to us. And when we start off with asking ourselves first, what am I interested in a relationship? Key, really important, and this is all relationships. And what we call this is shared context. So your shared context with someone else is that you're clear about what you're looking for, what you're interested in, and the person you're relating to is clear about what they're looking for and what they're interested in. And that you have matched shared context with each other. Okay? And that context can be anything. It can be anything in the world, from your spiritual path to you both love to read to you like cats. Shared context. So it depends on what you're interested in. And this is where we can get ourselves into trouble, is that if you're not clear about what your shared context is, what you're looking for in a relationship with someone, and let's say you have a desire but you don't know exactly what you're interested in a relationship. So you have a coworker at work and you think, oh, maybe I want to be closer to them. You have this feeling of like, I want to spend more time with my coworker. But you're not sure why. You just know you want to have a friend, but you haven't described what exactly that friend is that you're looking for. You might have an idea in your being, but if you don't share it with them, you're never going to be able to tell if the context is there for you to be friends. An example of a coworker, what's your shared context with a coworker?
You're with them all the time.
Work. You're with them all the time, says someone. You're with them all the time. The shared context is work. You work together. Okay? There might be more shared context, but the main shared context is you work together, period. So let's say you invite your coworker and say, hey, I'd like to get to know you better. Do you want to go out afterwards and have tea? And your coworker says, yeah, why don't we meet at the bar? Okay? So right there, you see we might have different contexts. Okay? But you're not sure what your context is, so you go, that sounds great. So you go and have a beer with your coworker after work. Nothing wrong with this at all. And they start telling you about, what might they tell you about? Their kids and how frustrated they are at work. Okay? And you're feeling vaguely uneasy, but you want to be friends because you need more friends. You have this idea you need more friends, so you stick it out. Okay? And then you decide that once a week you're going to start meeting after work. Because you have it in your head you need more friends, and they obviously want a friend. And so thus starts a relationship that is not based on shared context. It's based on you showing up for what you think they need, and them showing up perhaps with what they think you need. Okay? So do you see what starts to happen from the get-go if we're not clear? If you're clear, you can easily go out to a beer with them and partway through the conversation feel into, is this what I'm looking for? Is this the shared context I'm interested in? And realize, no, actually the shared context I'm looking for right now in my life is around positive support around this health issue that I've been working with. That's what I'm interested in. So you might even say to the person, hey, I realize what I'm looking for in a relationship right now, in a friendship right now, is positive support around this health issue. Out yourself. Tell them what you're looking for. Okay? As women, we're like, well, I can't tell them. That'd be too bold. Okay? They might take it wrong. They might not be interested in that. Well, wouldn't you rather know that right up front? That they're not interested. Okay? So then they can say, yes, that sounds fabulous. I also have a health issue, or I also have an aging parent, or I also have a spiritual path that I'm working on. I would love to spend time with you. Or they might say, I'm just really exhausted after work and all I want is just to talk. It's just to unload my brain. And you can then feel into that and go, not interested in that, or, that would be great for me too. But that's coming from your heart. That's coming from your authenticity. It's a choice that you're making. Boom, you then have the shared context. Okay? It's incredibly valuable for us to go through our relationships and to explore, where did the shared context start? was there shared context in each of our relationships? Friendships, with your family, with your beloveds, with your friends. What was the shared context, and has it changed? Have you changed? Have they changed? Are you still in alignment with each other around your context? And it's so beautiful because there's no judgment. There's no, they should be more like me, I should be more like them. It's just simple clarity from the beginning, or when you become aware that perhaps you don't have the shared context, then you can renegotiate and say, I've realized this is what I'm interested in this particular relationship. Where are you? What are you interested in? And just because they say, I'm interested in such and such, does not mean you automatically have to go, great, me too! Which is what we happen to often do as women, of just agree and make nice. Okay, this isn't across the board, but it's quite common for us. Yes? Yeah. Okay. So when we explore shared context, then we take out any judgment, any good, bad, right, wrong, and it comes back to us. It comes back to what am I interested in my different relationships. And especially to let go of this idea that there is one person out there that's going to fulfill all your needs. Okay? That one special person that you'll have, the shared context will just be perfectly matched. You won't need any other human on the planet. And sometimes we act like that the first year. Suddenly you don't talk to anybody if you get into a new relationship, that you think it's complete match. Okay? It never is. Ever. It can't be. You're two different humans. Okay? So if you're in relationship, if you're wanting to get in relationship, or if you're not interested in getting in relationship, any of the above, please keep exploring in yourself any place that you have a belief that says there's someone out there that's going to complete me. There's someone out there that the shared context will be 100%. Because it's not possible, and you don't want that. You really don't. You want some differentiation. So we'll talk about that in a moment. So again, whether you've been in a relationship for 20 years, or you're just starting an intimate relationship with someone, we're talking about more partnership relationships now, although all relationships are pretty much the same as I see it, that you want to explore what's our shared context, what's my intent in this relationship, and bring it up to date with who you are and who your partner is, or who you're looking at partnering with in any way. Okay. And to be constantly, what I think of busting yourself in a good way, lovingly, taking note, is there any place that I'm feeling like this person is going to complete me, is going to save me, is going to fix me, is going to make me feel whole? Because most of us, men and women, women and women, men and men, all genders, no genders, when we get together, we've been domesticated that when we come together in intimacy, whether it's intimate friendship or love relationship, partnership, that we're coming as two halves and creating a whole. Okay? It's the domestication. So whether your mind believes that or not, whether you've been educated and learned and explored, there's still the old domestication around that. It's really deep in our beings. And so constantly be aware, and that's the foundation of creating conscious relationships, is your awareness of your relationship with your mind, your relationship with your beliefs, your relationship with your thoughts. And your thoughts, many of your thoughts are not yours. Many of the ways you think about relationship are not your thoughts. Whose thoughts are they? Okay, your parents? Yeah, who else? Whose thoughts are they?
Society.
Society, media. Okay, all these places that reflect how we should be in relationship, what we learn from watching our parents' relationship or watching relationships outside. I remember it wasn't until I was in college that I went and visited a friend, and her parents were completely smushy with each other. Like, they would kiss, they always sweet, soft talk to each other. And I was so like, what am I doing? I was embarrassed because my parents were not demonstrative in that way at all. Like, what I was modeled of what relationship looked like was not that. And I remember being fascinated, like, that's so cool, and at the same time horrified because they shouldn't, part of me was I shouldn't be doing that because that wasn't the model that I had. And I remember talking to my roommate later and just being like, wow, that's what you were modeled. How wild. How these incredibly loving, supportive parents. Okay, very demonstrative, which was not, my parents loved each other deeply, but it was just different, the way that they demonstrated it. And it's true in all the ways that our parents are in relationship with each other. We learn a lot of how they're in relationship or how they're not in relationship. Even when they're not in relationship, they're still in relationship, yes? Even if one of them is dead, they're still in relationship. And we learn from that relationship, okay? From watching our parents, our church, our school, and then the media, what gets reflected. So the way we think about relationship is questionable because it's not really our thoughts. It's a lot of other people's thoughts. It's what the Toltec call the dream of the planet, which is the way all humans are dreaming. And if we look at the media about what the dream of relationship is, what we see is that relationship is the romantic fantasy. That's really the definition of relationship, is romantic fantasy. You find the one and you're fulfilled. Oh, yeah, I don't have to do anything else. Okay. So even again, if our intellect, if our highest self knows that that's not true, that's what we've been soaking in for years and years and years. So we need to take that into account in our awareness. And again, conscious relationship starts with awareness of us really become aware of what our relationship is with our thoughts. And if we're believing our thoughts, I invite you to change your relationship with your thoughts as a foundation for conscious relationship. Start over in that puppy, in that relationship, and begin to open to a new relationship, which is one that you can't believe everything you think. Okay? So instead of a relationship where your mind tells you what it believes and you go, oh, that must be true, just like the same thing with media. I read it, so it must be true. Okay? I saw it on the internet, so it must be true. Okay? To question, just like you would a tabloid. Okay? We learn that there's certain magazines, you look at the cover and it has a picture of Clinton and Obama and how Hillary and Barack Obama have had an alien baby. And it's definitely going to be the next president once it grows up. You look at that and you know it's not true. And it's fun. Okay. But they try and make it true. That one is totally left field. But I've been watching the tabloids where they'll say something as if it's completely fact. But you know it says star on the top. Suspect. Yes? Okay? I don't think that Angelina is pissed off at Brad because he's had 4 love children behind her back. Might be true, but it's suspect because of where the information's coming from, right next to the Jesus Christ is coming back in 2014 and he's pissed. Okay? Questionable. I would love you to change your relationship with your mind, that you view your mind more as a tabloid than as the New York Times. Okay? It's way more like a tabloid. And if you look at it that way, it's really entertaining. Wow, my mind believes that, da-da-da-da-da-da. Interesting. Okay? Let's look for the facts. Because just because your mind has a splashy headline of what it believes to be true doesn't mean that it's true. So when you change your relationship with your mind, then you begin to investigate, you begin to question, you begin to ask yourself, is that really true for me? is that actually my belief, or is that something I picked up from someone else? Okay. Is that really what my experience is, or is that what my fears are telling me? Okay, really different. So, tabloid relationship with your mind. Now you can go, I went to a conscious relationship workshop and I learned how to be in relationship with my tabloid mind. Have fun with it, because your mind is generating incredible stories. Okay? And you can go into a battle relationship with it of, I have to fight it, I have to stop it, it's bad. How's that going to be? Probably not so fun to be in battle and struggle with your mind, just as it would be to be in struggle with anybody else. So instead, to come into your relationship with your mind from love, recognizing that that mind of yours is doing its best to understand the world from a lot of different data. And I think some of the ways that we create our belief system, it's almost like a really bad game of telephone. Remember that game of telephone when you were a kid where you'd have a bunch of kids and one kid would say a sentence and then it would get passed down to the next kid would pass it down to the next kid, the next kid would pass it. What happened by the time it got to the end? It was something else, right? So here we are trying to be conscious of our relationships when the information we've been passed down through our ancestry is like this bad game of telephone of how we should be in a relationship. I sometimes think about this, my great-great-grandparents talking and giving a message and then passing the message on to my great-great-grandparents and passing on to my grandparents and passing on to my grandparents and passing it on to my parents that then pass it on to me. What do I get is not where it started. And where it started is not 2012. Also, if you think about your great-great-grandparents and what their experience of relationship was versus you now, 2012, very different experiences, very different dreams. So don't trust your mind. And I know we so badly want to say, but I can trust my body. No, you can't. Sorry. Okay. Can you trust yourself? Yes. Absolutely. Okay, I'm about to say two things simultaneously that are both true. You can't trust your body, and you can absolutely trust your body. Okay? You can't trust your mind, and you can absolutely trust your intuition. You can't trust your intuition, and you can absolutely trust your mind. Why are these all true? Because in some cases, the mind is telling the body what to feel. Okay? So it would be easy to be able to just say, I can completely trust my body. But let's say you've been taught since you were a little kid that people with red hair are dangerous. Okay? It's not true, but you really, really believe it. Your mind really believes that because that's what you've been taught. And then you're out someplace and a person with red hair starts walking towards you. What's your body going to do? It's going to react. Okay? Is your body reacting to the truth? No, it's reacting to a story you have about this individual walking towards you. It might feel completely, viscerally real, but it's based on a story, not the truth. This is why awareness is so important, because through awareness we can begin to be in relationship with ourselves in a new way, which is, I trust myself to find the truth. I trust myself to be able to sort what's true and what's not. And to know that that takes time. Cultivating a relationship, any relationship, whether that's with you and a plant, or you and an animal, or you and a human, or you and yourself, it's a cultivation. And what you're cultivating is patience. What you're cultivating is your capacity to listen deeper. What you're cultivating is your curiosity about who am I beneath the stories, beneath the beliefs. Who am I really? That's what you're cultivating. And it takes tremendous patience and willingness to keep letting go of who you think you are or who you think you're supposed to be in order to find out what's authentic. Okay? That's a lot of information. And it's possible to sort. It is absolutely possible. At the end of this call, we're going to be talking a little bit about my 13 Moons program that's coming up. Amy will be talking and sharing at the end of the call, after the call, excuse me, about the global program for those of you that are global to get more information. And we're also going to be offering a coupon, yay, for the program. So if you have pen and paper to write that down towards the end, you can do that. It's really important for us to get support in coming into right relationship with ourselves. And then from that right relationship with self, of no longer believing everything we think, but finding out what's authentic for us, we can then come into right relationship with others. So one of the keys, like we talked about at the beginning of this call, is around getting clear of what you're interested in and looking for shared context with other people. Okay, so shared context. I also then mentioned differentiation as another tool around relationship. I'm going to give you this last piece and then I'll open it up for questions. So all relationships benefit from some shared context, and all relationships benefit from some differentiation. Okay? And differentiation is simply that there's areas in all of your relationships where you're not interested in what the other person's interested in. You have differentiation. They are interested in this, you're interested in that. When we honor our differences, when we honor differentiation, what that allows is the space for each of us to go towards what inspires us. And it breaks the pattern of codependency. Okay? Another habit that we have in relationships, and this is all relationships, is that if someone goes, I really love Italian food, I'm really passionate about Italian food, talking about it, cooking it, and Italian food gives you gas, and you really don't like it, but you go, but they really love it, so I'll just go with them to Italian food. Okay? So every time you go out to the meal with Italian food and they're so excited and they're telling you all about it and your stomach's cramping and you're going, oh my gosh, I wish I was off dancing because that's what I really love to do. Okay? You're not honoring the differentiation. Okay? And all of us have differentiation. Just because someone loves ice hockey doesn't mean you have to love ice hockey too. Just because somebody loves meditating at 4 in the morning doesn't mean you have to love meditating at 4 in the morning too. There's no good or bad or right or wrong. Again, we let go of all the judgments of how I'm differentiation is good and how they're differentiating is bad. Let go of that. And honor what are they passionate about and invite them to go be passionate with other people that are passionate about it. Yay! Celebrate! Go! Woohoo! And then you go do what you're passionate about. Find other people that are also passionate about that. So you're honoring the shared context over here, and the differentiation here, and the shared context over there. Easy. Okay? Yeah. Challenging to put into practice, right? I heard that. There's a gasp in the back of the room. Easy. Yeah. Easy concepts, not so easy in the practical application sometimes, especially in long-term relationships that we've had for a long time that are set around, how many of us spent years in a relationship, whether a friendship or a romantic relationship, where our partner believed that we loved the things that they loved, and we never did. We were just pretending for years and years. Okay. So to get really honest, to be able to go, I don't love video games. I never have. Sorry. What I really love is pastries. Okay? Whatever. Okay? I love motocross racing. That's my passion. Whatever it is. But that's coming into your authenticity and bringing more consciousness in your relationship to be able to differentiate and let the person do what they love with the people that also love it. And you do what you love with the people that also love it. And let there be differentiation. It's good, it's healthy. And the more intimate your relationships are, the more important differentiation is. If there's not differentiation in intimate relationships, what happens is codependency. That's what starts to naturally happen if there isn't differentiation. And one of the things that I beg and plead and ask and support people in relationship is getting enough time to themselves. That there's differentiation so that you're getting clear over and over again about what you love, so that you don't fall into the traps of just doing what the other person likes. Okay? So review that in your close friendships, in your partnerships, work, business, love life. Where are there places where there is differentiation, or you want to foster more differentiation? Differentiation doesn't mean that relationship's going to end, which is where our little minds go. But if I differentiate, then what if they find someone else? Or what if, okay, I've been lying this whole time, I better just keep lying. No, stop it. Fess up and honor the differentiation. Everyone gets their needs met then. And there may be times that doesn't mean that you never do something that your friend likes. So example, when my father was really sick with leukemia, I spent many days watching football with him. I watched a lot of football with him when I was a kid. I don't particularly love football. And it was a shared context place for me and my dad. Because it was something that he was passionate about, and what I was passionate about was being more in love with him, was spending more time with him and just loving the being that he was without him needing to be different. So it was a beautiful time. I spent a lot of time just grinning as I watched football because I was getting to be with my dad, with something he loved. So that was a choice. We had differentiation there, but I chose consciously to come back and make it shared context. I wasn't suffering. I cheered. With him. Okay? And in a normal relationship, that's not something I would choose. Okay? But in this case, it was a beautiful shared context for us that really deepened my relationship with him. Okay, so it's not cut or dry. None of this is cut or dry, but it's good guidelines around how to improve all of your relationships. So let's review. 1, know what you want. Get clear about what you're interested in. What's the feeling sense that you're interested in? What sorts of activities are you interested in? And open to that there might be a wide range of people that are going to fit your different shared contexts. So that's number 1. Then 2 is what shared context do you have with people? Do more of that. Okay, enjoy the places you have shared context. Cultivate shared context with other people. Okay. 3rd, differentiation. Honor where there's differentiation. And if you've been not being authentic because you've wanted to be with someone, then be honest in a loving way, without judgment towards yourself or the other person of, I'm actually not interested in this. I thought I was, or I never really was. I just wanted to spend time with you. And can we look for something else to spend time around that we're both interested in? And I've known friends that have come to a crisis in their relationship where they had really strong shared context. It shifted, but they kind of kept dancing around where the shift was. And then when they came together and really talked about, okay, we don't have the shared context we once had, they then worked together to look at, well, what shared context do we have? Where's the differentiation? And is there shared context that we want to create? Because you can create shared context. It might be, I've always been interested in book clubs, but I've never done it. And your friend might go, I really wanted to join a book club. Boom, you've got shared context. Okay? Go do that together. It's fun because you're both going to get what you want, more of. Okay, with both shared context and differentiation in all relationships. Then the last piece is don't trust your mind. Okay, don't trust it, what its stories are, what it's saying. Keep being curious about what's true for you now, not what was true for you in the past or what you wish was true. What's true for you now? And the patience to unravel. And that's why I love doing this type of work within community. Because as each of us unravels our brain, we're all very similar in the way we've tangled ourselves up. We each get more clarity with that. Okay, I'm going to take a break. Sheila, Lizette, any questions from the chat? And so any of you that are global, if you have any questions, feel free to chat, and Sheila and Lizette will let me know. And for Austin, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. So can you just come up close so they can hear you? You don't have to get on the video.
Is this close enough? I'm curious what the percentage would be for differential and shared context, because I was in a relationship once where we would do our separate things, but we were almost always separate.
Yes.
And so it's that balance,
Mm-hmm.
and 80-20, 50-50, what do you feel is a good flow?
Balance point, great. Okay, great. So the question is around what's the balance of shared context versus differentiation. It's going to be different for every relationship. So I don't necessarily, we can say, 50-50 would be perfect, maybe, who knows? But what you can look at is, just like you said, is on the continuum, is it too much, does it feel out of balance one way or the other? And then you can start, because for each, it's going to be different. Some people, they need a lot of time to themselves. Okay, so maybe their shared context is 20% and their differentiation is 80, and that feels really good for both of them. Okay, and it might be other people, what feels really good is shared context is 80 and differentiation is 20. So it's a balance within the relationship. And so if it feels like there's too much differentiation, then you can go, okay, well, let's start building in more shared context and see, let's put a little bit more in, amp the number up, see how that feels, renegotiate it. Okay, because we all have different needs in a relationship, and so that's the dance within any partnership is what works, what's going to work for you. Yeah.
Could you explain why, if there is too much shared context, it can become codependent?
Yeah, so if there's too much shared context or not enough differentiation, how it can become codependent. What happens is you start spending all of your time with one person. Okay? When we do that, it's inevitable that our unconscious beliefs are going to start to kick in more and more. Because every decision becomes not my decision, it's the two of our decision. And so, again, there's nothing right or wrong about it. It's just realizing that the domestication is going to kick in, and that what starts to happen is every decision becomes two people deciding rather than both people going, is that really, checking in and asking, is that really what I want? It just becomes habitual. It starts becoming habitual. So that's why when you're spending too much time with one person and never checking in, then just old habits, laziness, comfort starts to happen. Yeah. So checking in by saying, hey, let's spend 3 days apart and just let me just feel into where I'm at in my life, in the bigger picture. People are like, oh my God, you're breaking up, or no, you're just taking a little bit of space. It's okay. Okay? Or to say, hey, tonight, and you might have a little feeling of like, I just want to try and experiment. Hey, sweetie, usually I'd go with you, but I'm going to try staying home tonight and just see what that feels like. And that will then allow you to come back into you as an individual rather than you as a partnership, which is just helpful to check in. So to have those check-in points. Mm-hmm. Any questions from the global? I've answered everything. You are all yay, happy.
No, one person said, I've been married for 34 years and I think it's 75% differentiation and 25% shared context, and it's okay.
Great. Okay, so married for many, many years, 75% differentiation, 25 shared context, and it feels good. Awesome. Awesome. And again, what works for your relationship? Different people have different needs around that. So, yeah.
What if the two of you have good shared context and differentiation, but one of us needs 80-20 and the other needs 60-40, or what happens when it can't meet?
Mm-hmm.
Or, one person has found differentiation and can say, this is what I like, this is what I need, and the other person can't say, this is what I want, and goes with everything that the other
Mhm.
person wants.
So what's going to happen eventually, you guys see what's going to happen eventually. If there's one partner that's well differentiated, that's clear about what they like, what they don't like, and there's one partner that's not, that just habitually says whatever you want, whatever you want, whatever you want, what's the result going to be over time? Eventually.
Resentment.
Resentment. Okay, eventually over time there's going to be resentment. It's not the person who's differentiation responsibility to help the other person differentiate. That's their responsibility. Okay, and that's hard. But it's just if you just look at the pattern, and sometimes that can be helpful in relationships, is just to step back and say, okay, with where the energy is now, what's the result going to be? And so what might need to happen is then a separation for a period of time so that one partner can find what is their differentiation. Or simply the person that's differentiating just holding and just knowing eventually their partner's going to have a reaction. At some point there's going to be a wait a minute, what am I? And it might be years. So you just know that eventually they will come to that place. And then to support and create. She's going, no. Okay. It doesn't mean the end of the relationship necessarily. It might be, and it might just be you hold steady while your partner finds what their footing is. And you stay steady. You're clear about what the shared context, you're clear about you stay steady. They find their footing. Okay. But you're not trying to save them, fix them, help them. They need to do that piece. You can't. Really important. Yeah.
Okay, so I have one. What would be a healthier story to replace the Prince Charming fantasy that we've all been soaking in?
What would be a better story than the Prince Charming fantasy that we've been soaking in? The horse and the knight and the a truck. Shrek, yeah. There's a lot of different stories, and this is where we get to be creative. Because it's true, we have this fantasy, which is an archetype, that we play even when we don't realize it. And so to consciously start replacing it with something new, and that can be anything. So when I was doing this process, the visual that I had was on being on my own horse. And I just played with that for a while. Part of me was like, I don't even know what that means. What does that mean? But it was that feeling sense of being centered on my own horse. And that was where I started, was just that feeling like on my horse, I'm on my horse, I'm on my horse. No one's coming to save me, girlfriend. And then to feel that there were other beings that were also on their horses. Yay! So again, it wasn't that, oh, and then there's the handsome one, beautiful one, sweet, whatever that's going to be on their horse. Yay! It was recognizing that we're all on our path and that I'm not alone and I have my path. That is mine alone. So I'm not alone, but it is my path alone. And there are other people on their paths. And so that was what I started playing with, is that just replaying that image over and over and over again. And the sense of the way that I want to be in partnership is somebody that has their horse and their path. That's clear. Okay. So, and we can be really creative in what imagery we want to create for ourselves. So one more question, then we'll start talking about sex.
I was actually going to ask about that.
Perfect.
Can sex be considered a shared context? And the other part of that is, as you were talking, I was thinking, there have been times I've had shared context with people, but they're not healthy shared contexts.
Right.
So could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So question, can sex be a shared context? Absolutely. Are there shared contexts that are not so healthy? Yes. Okay. So the shared context that we do drugs really well together? Yes, it's shared context. Okay. Or yes, we do bitch sessions really well together. Okay. Yes, it's shared context. How does it make you feel? Is it supportive? And that's the piece also of stepping back every once in a while to look at our relationships and say, is this actually the shared context I want to have? Because we change. And it might be what was shared context that might have even been nourishing in the beginning is now not so nourishing, even though it's still shared context. It's just not feeding you the way it once did. Either it's now destructive or it's just not nutritional. Okay. So when we come from a place of being able to witness, then we can see, this is actually not the shared context I want to have in my life right now. And we don't have to go into they're bad, they're wrong, I'm bad, I'm wrong. It's just, I want to make a new choice. This isn't the shared context I want to be having. And then you would get clear with what is the shared context that you want, so that you get clear for yourself about what your intent is. Okay, another question from the audience.
This is on shared context. Is shared context only things such as habit, or is it also similar backgrounds, even though you were not growing up together?
Yeah, shared context can also be similar backgrounds. It can also be, like families have shared context of history. The shared context with families often is their history. Sometimes there's other shared context, and sometimes there's no other shared context. Okay? So that's an interesting thing to look at with families. And so shared context can be, again, something you create consciously, or it can be something that you look at and realize both of us have this shared context. Okay? Don't try and make there be shared context where there's not. So sometimes we do this with our families. The shared context is we grew up in the same house together. Okay? But there's no other shared context. That's it. We happen to share blood. That's the context, period. And so then trying to make you have more context than that, just honor that's the context. And then choose where do you want it, what do you want to, how do you want to be with that? Okay, not good, bad, right, wrong. You don't have to try and make there be shared context when there's not. It's okay. It's okay. There's plenty of other humans in the world that you can find shared context with. Okay, one more question, then we're going to sex, because we're running out of time. We got to talk about sex.
Okay. Oh boy, now I lost it. Oh, do you recommend would you recommend actively looking for a partner, or do you believe the right people will come into our lives without trying when we are on our own path?
Both. So, I believe as with anything, when you put energy towards something, the universe responds. So, and if you're vibrating, this is what I want, that you'll pull it in. And so it's both. It's getting clear about what are you interested in a partnership, whether it's a business partnership or whether it's a marriage. What am I interested in? And then start to step towards that. So you're both pulling it towards you and you're also stepping towards it with your actions. Both. Yay. Okay. Good. You can keep asking questions, and also Amy will be getting on the call at 8 o'clock, and she can answer more questions as well. Okay, sex. Life force energy. Repeat after me. Okay, life force energy. Your sexuality is your life force energy. It's your flow, it's your creativity, it's your passion. We've taken it and made it that it's about one thing, and it's not. When we try and dampen our sexual flow, or when we decide it's supposed to be here only, or when we try and use it to manipulate other people, or try and dampen it so that it's not so threatening, when we try and, what we do is create blockages in our own life force. Whether you have a partner or not, whether you're celibate and you're never going to have another partner again, or whether you have many, many, many lovers, it doesn't matter. It's the same movement, which is we're working to let our energy flow through us, for us. I see a lot of women, and I used to be one of these women, where I spent my life cut off here. Like this part was okay, actually like up here was fine, okay, but I didn't want anything to do with the rest of me. And I definitely didn't want anything to do with my sexuality. It was scary. It was freaky, because I had a lot of shame around my sexuality, around past abuse and around what I had done with it. And then I became spiritual, which that made it even worse. Now I'm spiritual. Now I'm really not supposed to be sexual. Oh, I'm pure. There's nothing happening down there. So unweaving that took a lot of time. And what I realized is I was in this process of unweaving, and it was almost one of the last things that I left. And I did a lot of work on all the other areas of my life. And I remember one day waking up and going, oh God, I'm going to have to deal with the sex stuff. Gonna have to face it. And it was really intense, and it was also incredibly healing. Because what I realized is all the places that I was using sex for something else, all the places I've been afraid of my sexual energy, which translates afraid of my energy, afraid of my power. And in doing so, I cut off my nourishment, my creativity, my passion. Okay? It doesn't have anything to do with anybody else. So when we talk about sexual integrity, it's about your relationship with your life force, energy, your flow, and having it accessible so that you can bring that energy up through your body whenever you want, how you want, whenever you need it. And we have the domestication so strong around this. This is why we do a whole workshop on sexual integrity, and why it's a big piece of the 13 Moons program. We do a whole weekend on it, is that there's this misconception that if I really own my sexual energy, that everybody's going to know it, and I'm going to be exuding sexual energy, and all of a sudden all these people are going to try and come at me. Okay, anybody ever had that fear? Oh my God, I can't let it out because then, okay, what will it mean? What actually happens when you really embody your own flow is that people don't hit on you unless they're like, really like, yeah, okay. And then you can go, yeah, okay, but I'm not available. Cool, huh? Not available. And it's not a problem, okay? It's not a problem. And it's really opposite than what you think. What people see is integration. What people see is a lot of energy. What people see is flow. Okay? Really different than what our fear is. When you really tap back into your sexual energy for you, it's amazing how much energy you'll have. And we create a lot of suffering for ourselves by dampening down our sexual energy or by using it just in particular ways. So this idea of sexual integrity has nothing to do with what you do with your sexuality. That's your choice. Again, it's about your relationship with your sexual life flow energy, with your energy, and your capacity to choose where you want to direct it, whether that's to making love with somebody, or whether that's to writing, or whether that's to getting the job that you're interested in, because it's your energy. Okay? Simple. So when we're healing from past sexual trauma, and I consider just growing up as a woman in this culture sexual trauma, okay, let alone the amount of actual physical abuse there is that many of us have experienced, that healing then wants to come from a place where we're holding ourselves in love to let go of, again, what's not us. Okay? To let the past be the past and to come into joy with our physical form, with our senses, with our pleasure, to increase our capacity for pleasure, for joy, for all of our senses. And so that healing is about the commitment to yourself to reclaim what's yours and to take it back from wherever you've put it. Because even if you have been physically abused, if your energy is still back there, that's because you haven't brought it here. Okay? It's not because someone else took it away from you. They may have at that particular moment, but now you have full capacity to bring it here. We just often don't know how. We haven't been trained again. So this is another piece. Being in relationship with our sexuality in a new way and healing the past is around getting good guidance for how to do that. and knowing it's possible. I am a testimony that it's possible to reconnect with your sexual flow no matter what's happened in your history, no matter how much fear, how much trauma there's been. It's possible to reintegrate your sexual energy for you so that you're at complete choice how, when, where you want to put that energy. And it's fabulous, fabulous. And it does take getting support, again, because the domestication is so strong around sexuality and what we do with it as women. Okay, so we keep coming back to this idea. Sexual integrity is about your relationship, your personal relationship to your own sexual flow. And here's something fun to do. Shall I give you this task? Yeah, it's good. Okay, you ready for a task? I want you to spend the next week that when you're out in public, that you pay attention to your vagina. Okay? So you're in the grocery store, I want you to just go, hey, vagina, how you doing? Just kind of hang out with it, say hello, breathe, okay? It's so funny because we're like, I can't think about my vagina, I'm at work. Okay, I'm supposed to cut off. Why? It's a part of your body. Okay? So, is your vagina sex? No, but it's a part of your sexuality. So it's a great place to start of just becoming mindful of, how's my vagina? How you doing down there? And walking through your world, staying connected. So that's your task for the next week. Have fun with it, because it's a fun one. And then to open up around what's true. How about this? How would you like to be in relationship with your sexuality? So let's bring it back to conscious relationship. There's a conscious relationship, your relationship with your sexual energy for you. So to begin to explore, how would I want to be in relationship with my sexual energy? Not in terms of who do I want to be in a relationship. That's another question. The first question is, for me, how? What would the feeling sense be if I was aligned with an integrity with my sexual flow as my creativity, as my passion, as my life force energy? That's the question. And that will help you come into more conscious relationship with your sexuality and lead you towards what's in your integrity now for you. Yay! So we're starting to run out of time, and I know there's so many different pieces here. This was a taste. This was a buffet around some different ideas of conscious relationship and sexual integrity. And there's a lot more, obviously, that we can share. And I want to just talk a little bit about the 13 Moons program, because we go in depth into sexual healing and flow as well as relationships. And the program is a year long. It's geared for both local as well as global. And we have a tremendous global program this year. We're really blessed to be joined by Amy Zielinski, and she's and I are working together to create a really strong container for the global folks. So no matter where in the world you are, and we have women from Australia and Switzerland and the land of Alaska and all over the United States, as well as Europe and Asia and Australia, that we create a container that holds each woman on her individual journey, but that she's supported. And the beauty with doing a program like 13 Moons is that we have a different theme every month. And so that theme then guides the month, and the energy builds around it. And a lot of times women will come to me and they'll be like, it's so wild. I've been really feeling around my need to speak my truth and thinking about my voice and how I use my voice. And I'll be like, yeah, because we're about to start working with voice. So there's a synergy that starts to happen with all of us, with the energy that gets built with the circle. And what happens is you will gain more energy to help to untangle the places that are stuck. Simple way to say it, to help to unravel your belief system so that you can come back into your authenticity. And we have a lot of fun. So Amy's going to stay on the call. What we're going to do is, Amy, we're going to close down our video So the video will go black for a minute, and then Amy will come back on. And for those of you that are global that want to spend some time asking Amy questions or hearing more about 13 Moons Global and what it was like to be part of a sisterhood of women that are creating a container and a community, then refresh your browser. So what you want to do is, you don't have to even get out of the page, just press refresh, and then it'll kick up and pick Amy up, and Amy will then broadcast. Sheila will be watching the chat, so if you get confused, you can always go, what do I do? And Sheila will remind you, refresh. And if that doesn't work, just close your browser and then come back up again to the browser. So pen and paper for those of you that are global, and we'll also email this out later. We have a special running between now and September. Wow, what year am I in? January 21st, Saturday, January 21st at midnight. There's a coupon that is $50 off the first payment for 13 Moons. So it's a really great deal. I'm going to give you the coupon code now, so you have it, and then I'll email it after the broadcast. Ready? Here we go. That coupon code is 1313 GS, as in Global Sisters, GS, and then the numbers 12881. I feel like we're doing a lottery. And the winning number is, so again, 13GS2881 is that coupon code. So when you go to your email, you can click on the global, and then you'll put that coupon code in as you're signing out, and that will register. Okay? Again, if you have more questions, hang on. Amy will be answering for the global, and huge blessings to each of you for joining us tonight on this broadcast. And I also want to put a plug. We've been dreaming up one more broadcast, and maybe I'll do more, but there's one more that we have scheduled next Wednesday, and we're going to be testing this incredible new technology that we've been working with called Maestro. So for those of you that are global, look for the invite, and it will be for a call next week where we'll do more teachings, but you'll also get to interact with each other. We have the capacity through this technology called Maestro Conference to break groups up into pods and into pairs. So you'll be able to interact with other women. So watch out for that. That's coming next Wednesday, January 25th. And the Global 13 Moons Circle year-long women's apprenticeship program starts January 28th, which is a Saturday. And everything's recorded and available on the web. Blessings to each of you. Mwah. Thanks, Amy, for taking over, and good night. Thanks to Sheila and Lizette for running our tech. Thanks to all of you. Bye. Say